mystical mystery of the clickbait explosion in Jesus Christ.
Welcome to the Mystic Journey. I'll be your co-journeyer for the next 20-30 minutes. Mystic Journey is about, me trying to communicate something honest. And more than that, this is about the miracle of the incarnation of the clickbait explosion of Jesus Christ. This is the Mystic Journey. Those who have ears, may they hear. Today's topic is, don't believe everything you think. What they say, that saying of like, don't believe, only believe, small percentage of what you hear and less percentage of what you see, or other way around. This is internal world. Don't believe everything you think. For those of you on the other end of this who just blessed me, that's pretty cool. I gotta be honest, as I prepared to do this, I've had this outline since Monday, and it's been quite a ride. It's been quite a ride this week, and it's all internal world, all internal, thinking, feeling, nothing really external. Wrong, air quotes. And sometimes, it do be like that. It is what it is. It's what it is when I choose to live and manage anxiety and depression using holistic means. There are just times when you're off the game. And believing what I think will keep me stuck. And I've sat down to record this episode a couple times. And you could also call this episode, Don't Believe Everything You Feel. Not to say thoughts aren't important, feelings aren't important, they're important. We should pay attention to them. We should be aware of them. I'm sorry for using should twice in a row. We can be aware of them. We can pay attention to them. But we don't always gotta believe them. Because sometimes they ain't got nothing to do with what's really going on. The brain has this thing called the negative bias. And the negative bias is a pretty interesting thing. Advertisers, news, media uses this negative bias that the brain has. The brain has this bias towards negativity. And, the media companies, and not demonizing anyone, but, advertisers and people know that. So a lot of times, you hear, and I've worked in this marketing advertising world professionally, and so, it's about the pain point. What's the pain point? And then what's the solution, right? And sometimes in order to give people the pain point, you have to make the case for the pain point, And so our brain has this, and let me tell you why I know this is true. Because I'm not no neurologist. I'm not no brain dude. I got a brain. Try to use my brain. But, I'm just a dude who reads about what other dudes do when they really look into the brains. Okay? But this is what I do know, why I know this negative bias is true. Because I can have a day full of amazing experiences where maybe I see the ocean and I see my children play, and I see my wife smile, and it's full of beauty and wonder and mystery and miracle unfolding right in front of me. And then I would get an email or a text message from someone who is upset with me about something, right? And maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a client, and they say, you didn't do what you said you would do. Whatever, they hit me right in my feels. When I go to lay down at night, my brain will really hold on to that negative thing. And kind of all those positive miracles fade. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Like where, everything's really going good, and then your boss sends you an email about how you messed something up, and that just will throw you right off. Not only does it throw you off, but it's like the thing that you're thinking about when you lay down at bed that night. And the brain's kind of wired this way because, it's a survival mechanism. Timmy fell into the bear pond. I don't think bears have ponds, but you know what I'm saying. And remember that, because that's where Timmy died. So we imprint negative experiences or things we deem as negative. We imprint those into our brain quicker, right? It's a survival mechanism. So this makes sense. It's negative bias. And so our brain is already kind of wired to write negative experiences much faster, milliseconds, seconds, and it saves that to the hard drive. And the positive experiences and the positive things, they're there, but they're not as ingrained as quickly. So that's why a lot of us have an ability to, live in the negative. We have ability to see the downside of opportunities. We have the ability to, look at a situation, and instead of accepting it for what it is, or maybe seeing the possibilities that might come out of it, we think, here we go again. Here we go again down this road. Down this open road of chaos and pain. And because you could cite 100 references for why that's too good to be true. So we can't believe everything we think, because we already know, according to what I'm presenting in my argument here, that the brain has already got a propensity for storing negative information much quicker than positive. So, the brain's doing that as a survival mechanism. Ain't nothing wrong with your brain if it's doing that. Ain't nothing wrong with you. And so you already know if this happening already as an automatic process, right? Then we have to be aware that that's happening. Step one, that's the awareness. And so don't believe everything you think, because when these thoughts come in, so when I come and I sit here and I go to crack this mic and turn these lights on and turn the camera on, start the live stream and close the door and get into the zone and put that background music on, and I start vibing and riding on this mystic ride, on this mystic surfboard of cosmic communication. And then my brain kicks in. It thinks about the 100 things I ain't done yet. It thinks about all kinds of stuff. Or the feelings come in. I don't feel it. I don't feel like I want to do it. And if I believe it, then I don't hit those buttons. I don't record. I don't move forward. I'm kind of stuck and paralyzed. This is full transparent. I don't know how else to be, but to be real with you. I don't know how else to do this than to just be me. That's just how it is sometimes. It do be like that sometimes. Not always. So I don't think it's kind of meta, right? Here I am trying to create this communication that I know is helpful because when it was introduced to me, it was helpful. So I want to be helpful, so I'm communicating it out. And as I sit down to do this very thing, I'm suffering from the very thing that I'm trying to communicate. Well, that ain't the Lord. Boy, the Lord got that 2-for-1 special. The Lord all about that buy one, get one free. That's how the Lord operates. The Lord doing 2-3 things at once. That's just my experience, how the Lord do it. The Lord get that BOGO on you. So Lord says simultaneously, as I'm communicating this, Lord's still working this out in me. So don't believe everything you think, Christian. I want to bring up thinking mind versus spirit mind. Thinking mind versus spirit mind. You know? We have this thinking mind, and it's important, right? And that's the thing that's responsible for all kinds of stuff, right? Paying the bills and driving a car and walking the dog and working out and doing all these motor functions and thinking logically, breaking things down critically, looking at the pros and cons, right? Seeing things from a black and white perspective, and up and down, and good and bad. And that thinking mind is really good at doing that. And so it does its thing. And we need that thinking mind because, you know, some things are just plain and simple, black and white. It's on or it's off. The camera is on or off. I'm recording or I'm not, as I look to make sure I'm recording. So the thinking mind's important, right? And it's doing what it do. But there's this spirit mind. That's that mystic journey. That's that thing that you can't quite put your finger on. The spirit mind. For some, maybe they describe it as a still small voice, a whisper, a gust in the wind, a ray of sunshine cracking through the window just right, and you catch it, and time slows down. That's that spirit mind. The spirit mind is seeing things from a different lens. I've talked about this before, but you got light, right? You got light, and our eyes can see, you know, a small portion of the spectrum of light. And that spirit mind is taking into account all the spectrums. You know, it's looking at all the angles. Richard Rohr says a spirit cannot be offended. So anytime you're offended, it ain't the spirit, it's you. So the thinking mind and the spirit mind, getting in tune to the spirit mind, takes practice. And part of that is starting with not believing everything you think. You know, this over the last 10 days, there's this concept of kind of, or idea of the serendipitous nature of happenstance. You know, cosmic collisions with fate. How things kind of happen. You know, that this kingdom of God principle is at play. Whether you playing or not, it's doing its thing. And so the spirit mind's in tune to that. So often, more often than not, there's a certain stillness that comes with it. I went with a friend of mine, a couple of buddies, they used to own this recovery transitional thing. And I was doing their marketing and stuff, but I was kind of also just kicking it with them. So they went to go check out this place up in the hills in Georgia. And it was this really cool compound with all these little log cabins on it. Like funky, small log cabins, different shapes, weird, interesting. But it had been shut down for a while. So they were thinking about buying this place, which would have been really cool. Had a giant mess hall in it. Really cool location up in the hills. Great place for like a rehab or revitalization getaway. Really cool spot. And we walked around and just talked about all the possibilities. Oh man, we could do it. And I think the price was really good too. We could do this, we could do that. This thing's cool. One of the guys that was with us, Brother Chuck, pastor, he sat down on the porch in one of the log cabins. He said, I ain't got the peace. I said, Chuck, bro, anytime you step out of your comfort zone, you ain't gonna have that peace. My infinite wisdom, right? Telling this OG, man, sometimes it's just uncomfortable. You got to go against the grain and step out your comfort zone and push. He said, yeah, I get that. But there's usually an underlining current of peace that exists in that pain and fear. There's a little something. He's talking about the spirit. He's talking about that spirit mind whispering in the wind. That's what he's talking about. So, short story long, they end up not getting the spot because he ain't had the peace for whatever reason. And that takes time to become attuned to whatever that is. Again, I'm using that word spirit, right? And sometimes words just, they don't do the deal. They're not effective. Because whatever spirit is, it's like. That's all we got for it is metaphor. Because you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite explain it. So don't believe everything you think. That's the other thing, man. This thinking thing will masquerade as the spirit. I don't know how many people of faith, religious people I know who are constantly, telling themselves things and then telling other people God told them that. That's a mind, that's scary. I've been that way. People, anybody come up to you and say, God told me to tell you, boy, beware. Maybe they did, but beware. So this thing of the mind masquerading, right? My consciousness masquerading as Christ's consciousness. That's why this stuff takes time. It takes consistent, intentional, focused energy of letting go. And believe me, it takes energy to let go. Of sitting still, meditating, of reading ancient scriptures or helpful books, and sitting still and praying and listening for that spirit, that whisper in the wind. And as we continue that practice, it gets a little more, it becomes more natural. Big Book says, we will instinctively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will instinctively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. Over time, we become in tune with this spirit. And we stop believing everything the thinking mind is throwing at us. We stop believing every feeling we have. again, they're important. The thoughts are important. The feelings are important, and it's good to acknowledge them. Where the harm comes is where unnecessary suffering stems from a lot is we believe it. So, another thing with this, you got this thinking mind, spirit mind. Okay, cool. What about some thought exercises, right? Writing things out, journaling. I've been doing this thought exercise that was prescribed to me by my close friend. He said, what's the thought? How does the thought affect me, right? My feelings. And then what's the negative contract I make with myself based on this thought? And then what's the truth? Because you can't stop yourself thinking a thought, but you can replace a thought with another thought, right? So this is a great thought. This has been very helpful to me. Again, this is after learning to be aware of the thoughts, after learning to not judge the thoughts so deeply. Then I'm able to look at the thoughts and turn it around and go, okay, what's this doing to me? And so I keep some notes on my phone, and when the thought is persistent, I write it out. There's the thought. How's it affecting me? It's making me feel, sad, or that I don't measure up, or whatever. And then what's the negative contract I make with myself? What's the story here? What's the story that I'm associating with that thought? And then what's the truth? And that's been a very helpful thought exercise to help me learn how to not believe everything I think. What's the thought? What's it affecting me? How's it affecting me? What's the negative contract that I'm making with myself? And what's the truth? So don't believe anything you think. And in order to do that, you got to pay attention to what you think. A lot of us don't pay attention to what we think. We driving down the road, listening to the radio. Maybe you driving right now, listening to this podcast, driving, thinking about the cars, thinking about what I'm saying, thinking about what you're going to say when you get to the place you're going, and then thinking about what someone might have said to you the other day, or then you're thinking about the way you feel, and then you notice that the coffee, you need a sip of your coffee. Your brain's like boom, boom. It's like doing its thing, right? That's what the brain do. It's processing data and information, and so it's doing all that. And here we are, unaware that this is happening. That's sleepwalking. That's living in the land of the dead. Come back to life. Don't go back to sleep. Wake up and don't go back to sleep. Pay attention to what you're doing internally. We're not taught the internal world until we get faced with something so dramatic that it forces us to face it. Until something terrible happens and we go, okay, maybe I ought to go to therapy. Maybe I ought to talk to a spiritual advisor. Maybe I ought to go to some meetings. Maybe I ought to address this stuff. And then you start looking internally. And that's unfortunate that we collectively as a society have said, now we don't worry about the internal world. Not until it becomes a problem. We focus everything on the external world. Everything about, what am I accomplishing? What am I making? What impact am I making? How much money am I making? How does this affect me? And it's all external. We're looking externally for the reality. And we're not paying attention to the internal reality. And I would equate that to sleepwalking. sleepwalking through life, akin to a robot, just reacting. So paying attention to this thinking, this inner world, man, these thoughts and feelings, that ain't for the faint of heart. That ain't for the faint of heart. That's for that's the real OGs go looking. Pick up your cross. Pick it up. Choose today who you will serve. You gonna serve that thinking mind and just be on that automatopoeia and just doing your thing, or you gonna serve that spirit, that whisper in the wind, and surf through this mystic journey. Don't believe everything you think, and don't believe everything you feel. Pay attention to them, be aware of them, but you ain't gotta believe everything. And then over time you learn to discern. What's that whisper in the wind, and what's that ego? What's that selfish self? And in time. And I'm here to help. So however I can help, I'm happy to. Message me if you're watching this on some social media. If you're on the app, hit that contact. And I'm happy to get together with you one-on-one. We could do it virtually. We could do it in person. And I can help you talk. We can talk through it. I don't got the answers. Thing is you got the answers. And sometimes we just need someone to help us sort through the junk. And that's all I'm offering. Is a co-journeyer. Someone to just walk with you for a minute. This is the Mystic Journey. My name is Reverend Christian Jansen. Thank you for listening. Be blessed. All right. Still streaming live. Just got done recording. Seeing if anybody has commented. Oh, yeah, my boy Abramowitz. My boy Abramowitz was on here. We live now. That's awesome. What's up, boy? Abramowitz. You got to check out this app, okay? If you're in recovery or you deal with and live with mental illness on some level, any level, and I think all of us at some level are, I'm going to pull this app up onto the camera so you can see it. So it's this thing called Shared Space. Self-discovery. So, there's itching I can do. Let's add him. Let's see what he says.
Why is it so hard to be human? I had a lot of thoughts while you were speaking. It's hard, dude. I'll tell you, it's hard to be human because what does it mean to not be human?
So that's what's happening on Shared Space. You can download it and on your phone, and you can either do like voice notes or you can do message notes, and then you can reply to people. And it's just it's a great way of like with this kind of stuff I was talking about, like not believing everything you think. When you're in that headspace and your mind's jacked up, it's really cool because you can just open that app and share immediately. And sometimes that's enough, dude, just getting it out of your head. So check it out, Shared Space. Adam Abramowitz doing his Shared Space thizzle. So I'm going to show it to you again. It's right here. That's that Shared Space. Self-discovery. Look at those little people down there. Why are they white, Adam? What's wrong with you, bro? You don't like brown people, bro? You only got white people on your thing. What's up with that, dude? I'm just kidding. Not really. All right, so that's what we got. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Don't go back to sleep.